All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD Application and Website Development AWD1111 Database-Driven Web Development course, I'm doing a series of video presentations. I am in the Valley of Code website by Mr. Flavio Copes. So far in here, I've done presentations on Mr. Copes' HTML handbook, CSS handbook, and JavaScript handbook. In other words, client-side JavaScript. I've also done other things, but I'm now in here and we're switching over to the server side and I'm going through his Node.js handbook. And I'm about 15% or so of the way through here. So we were talking about how to restart the application in here. All right. And I could type in this, npm I -g nodemon. All right. The -g means global. npm is node package manager. I is install. -g means do it globally, and nodemon. But we're going to use this one right here. What this means is this nodemon that we are about to add, to our system, all right, we want it to be added in a developmental way. In other words, once we take our project and we move it out onto the internet itself, we don't want nodemon to be accessible. All right, so I'm going to just grab that code that you see right there and I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to jump into here and I'm going to paste it in. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to hit enter yet, but I am very shortly. And once we do that, I'm going to reopen this file here. And what you're going to see is in here, we will now have what should show us that we have a developmental dependency in here on nodemon. So I've got that in, I hit enter, it spins, it goes and it grabs some stuff, all right, and it says that it added this. Now notice it added a couple things here. It added a folder called Node Modules that's got a boatload of stuff in it. And that boatload of stuff that it's got in it is, if I look in here, I'm going to find nodemon. There it is. But it also has everything, all of nodemon's dependencies in here as well. And if that doesn't make sense, it will as we get going. It also brought in here a file called package.lock.json. And what the lock file does is it says everything that we're using in here, it says, let us know what version of it we're using. And these all mean things. The caret here, not having anything at the beginning, etc. We'll go over those, just not right now. All right. So I'm going to open up package.json, and you'll notice we now have a developmental dependency in here. It's nodemon, and it's telling us to use the newest version of nodemon there is, which is this one. Now, even though I'm not going to use it right now, I'm going to add one more dependency right now because I want you to see what it looks like when we have a non-development dependency. So I'm going to come back in here. Let's see, what did I do with that? Where is my terminal? All right, and I'm going to do another npm I for install, and I'm going to put in here express. Before I do that, I want to close my package.json file. Now, I'm going to come in here and hit enter. It's again going to spin and do its little thing in here. And now it says 10 packages. All right. But if we look and we bring back up in here our package.json file, now you'll notice we have developer dependencies and non-developer dependencies. What's the difference? When we go and put this package to the internet, we will create another file in here, a .gitignore file. And when we do, we'll tell it that to ignore that dependency. We don't need to use nodemon, but everything that's in here we will need to use. All right. And if that confuses you, hey, we're just getting started. Okay. And hopefully it'll make more sense as we get going. All right. So what did we gain out of doing that? That's the question. I mean, what did we gain? All right. Well, if we look in here, let me go back to this and let me open back up our package.json file. And you'll notice that right now what we have in here is we've got this thing under test that we don't even use. This is if we're doing testing. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put two things in here. And I'm going to put in here, let's see. I'm going to put in, let me get rid of that. And let me put in one thing that's called dev. All right. And I'm going to say that when I'm in developer mode and I type in dev, not just dev, but you'll see it in a minute, I want you to run nodemon. And I want you to, whoops, it's got to be in double quotes. I'm sorry. So I want you to run nodemon on our app.js file. All right. But when I type in start, then when I type in start, then I want you to just do a node app.js. So what's the difference? When I run this with dev, I'm telling it to run nodemon. When I do start, I'm telling it to run it the way we've been running it. So again, you might say, fine, who cares? You should care. Let me show you why. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say right here, npm run dev. And I'm going to hit enter. And boom, now I'm in nodemon. And how do I know? Because it's got this. Okay, if you've got a black background, this will look very green as opposed to the way it looks now. But the server is still running. Okay, again, should you care? I'm going to show you why you should care. Now I'm going to come back in here. You've already seen this. So I'm going to come back in here. Let me close this and come up to here. You've already seen this, right? Now I'm going to go back in again. And where we had that stuff, where we had our hello world, I'm going to just say hello world. And then I'm going to put in here a paragraph tag. How are you? All right, so I added that. Now I'm going to save. Now you probably didn't notice it, but it's restarted the server for me automatically. So now when I jump back to here and I refresh, there you go. We don't have to stop the server. That's why you add nodemon. All right. Okay. How to exit from a program. There's various ways. I showed you the easiest with a Control-C. If you want to access from within your program, you typically will do a process.exit. And you can give it a number in there. 0 means it's success. It's just a normal exit. When you put a number in there, like a 1, that typically means there was some kind of an error associated with it. All right. All right. Remember, one of the things that we added, let's check my time, and I'm great. All right. So one of the things that I just added, you just saw this, all right, that in here, when we added this stuff, one of the things we added was express. All right. So this is all fine and dandy. Okay. And I don't want to have to remove the code that's here. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything that's in here where we created the server and where we printed it all down below. I'm going to comment this whole thing out. Now it says my app crashed. That should actually make sense to you. It crashed because all the code that was making it run, I just commented out. All right, so don't worry about that. It'll be fine in just a moment, okay? I really probably should have stopped the server first. It's fine. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab all of this code and I'm replacing what we had with this. Okay? And I want to explain every line like I did in here. All right? So I'm going to move stuff around a little bit because there's a certain way that typically you will place this stuff, and I'm going to place it that way as well. All right? Usually what most people do is they put this line at the top if they're adding express. You don't have to do that. All right? So I'm going to add express from the Node Package Manager. But to actually add it, this is adding it to the program. Remember down here before, let me stop the run. All right, let me clear. One of the things we did before, if you remember, I'm going to keep going back here. We did an npm I express. We added it, so it's available to us. All right. This says we want to bring it in to the program. Now, it looks a little different from what was in there before, yet it doesn't. You can use single quotes or double quotes here because you know that's how it works. All right, with JavaScript. But now I'm adding the express package from the Node Package Manager. You can do this before or after this. I'm not going to need this in just a moment. I'm no longer going to need this HTTP. At least I don't think I will. All right, so let's go back. And it's a little confusing here because I'm commenting stuff out, etc. But I want to show you this is just two ways of doing the same thing. All right, now I'm going to grab all of this and I'm going to put it in here so we no longer need, like I said, we no longer need this stuff either. So I can comment that out. All right, so I came in here and I added express, right? We've got our host name. We've got our port number. Then we come in and we say const app equals express. And what's that doing? That says that anytime we use app dot something, we're creating a new instance of the express. We're making an express object and we're calling it app. All right, and probably I screwed up that up from before, so I don't need this anymore. Now, I'm going to show you something. All right, I'm going to change this to 4,000. Whoops, to 4,000 because that's what we were using. All right, and notice it says app.listen, but we've got something here that says port equals 4,000. So we don't really need the number 4,000 there. We can type in port, but not prot. All right, and we say server ready. All right. Now, this looks a little different from what we did before. But what should happen if this works is it should act very similarly to what we did before. Not identical. And I want to explain why it won't be identical right now. All right. So we come in here and we add express from the Node Package Manager. Okay. All these comments are the same. Here, we're going to create a new instance of express and call it app. All right. Here, this is the action to take when we are at the home page of our app. How do I know that? Because it's slash. And once we get to that home page, it should just give us a message that says, hi. This right here, this line where it says app.listen, and it's got server ready, that's replacing what we did down here earlier. we could still put this in here, this message, server running on that port, which might be a little cleaner than just saying server ready. All right, so let's change that to this. Okay. Now, if everything works, the only difference is going to be once we restart our application, rather than it saying hello world, it's just going to say hi. And if that happens, everything's still working. So let me save this. Let me go down to here. And let me now do my npm. Oops, not there. I'm sorry. npm run dev. Look at our message. Server running. Same line we had before. All right. And if we get back to where we were before, right here, and we refresh, now it says hi, because that's what we told it to do. So if we go back to the program again, and let's change this from hi to what we had before, and that was hello world. How are you? Okay, now this res, somehow I put in a word hi there. Let's see, I think we should be able to still put this in as an H1. I think. We'll know real quick. And we can probably still put this in as a paragraph. Now we get an error because I didn't end my H1. So let's save this. Every time I'm changing it like this, it's restarting the server. That's NodeMon in action. All right, now refresh. There's my hello world. How are you? If we wanted to, we could add the question mark. Get rid of the period after hello world. Again, you'll notice when we're doing that, the server keeps restarting. So now I can go back. I can refresh. There should be a question mark put here, and that period should be removed. And you'll notice, boom. As we get into this more and more, you'll have your own thoughts about what we're doing. Is this cool? Does it stink? Etc. To me, this is cool. Sorry, it is. So let me finish going over this, okay? And then we'll finish up with this particular lesson. Express is a framework. What a framework is, it's a module that allows you to make your life easier inside of here. It uses the HTTP module that we were using under the hood. The app.listen, as it says, returns an instance of HTTP. It says you would use https.createServer if you needed to serve it using HTTPS. Okay? So if this was going to be something that we were putting out there that needed a secure connection, don't worry about that. It says this program is never going to end. If you call process.exit, it will. It says any currently pending or running advice or running request will be aborted. It says this is not nice. What does that mean? That means that you should not put a process.exit into your program. It is better to allow the running request to complete before terminating. All right. So, yeah, we could have put in something like this. I don't think I've ever put this in one of my programs. So it says here what we're doing is we're sending a signal. And what are signals? As mentioned right here, it says they're a POSIX intercommunication system. You're notifying the system that you want the program to end. SIG-kill, as it says, is the signal to kill the active process, to kill what's running. This tells it, though, to gracefully terminate. All right. When you send this signal from inside your program, it'll do this. All right. Now, I'm not even going to lie to you. I want to be as transparent and as honest with you in this class as I can possibly be. I made the decision, be it conscious, unconscious, subconscious, whatever you want to say. I have not read this thing by Flavio Copes before I'm presenting on it. So I'm reading it as I'm presenting it to you for the first time. The reason I'm telling you this is sometimes, at least, he goes through things. He introduces things, I think, a little too early or maybe a little too late. So as always, I kind of reserve the right to introduce something before he has, or to say, hey, we'll talk about this, but later. I did an install of Express before he did, and before he even mentioned it to you. And I did that just so that we would have it available to us when we needed it. All right. So when I come back in just a moment, we'll go through how to read environment variables from Node.js.